Hello, this is Mr. On Demand, man with the master plan, back again. And I really wish I had a master plan for this particular problem, but there isn't one. We just have to kind of live with it. But I'm going to talk a little bit about phones. So let's go ahead and really dive into what I want to talk about, because the phone market, in my opinion, is a broken one, and especially for Android. And I'm not an Apple fan at all because I don't like being dictated to what I can and cannot do with a device I pay for with my own money. Um, but we're in a similar situation with Android and the phones that come out on that platform as well, with the exception of a few phones here and there. But let's talk about the phone situation and how they are. So when you look at a phone, Android phones are essentially installed via firmware, which is a set of low-level software embedded within the phone's hardware, allowing the operating system Android to function properly. Essentially, the firmware is a foundation for which Android is built and installed upon. So it's a firmware, which means it's embedded in a memory chip in the phone, your operating system, and the issue with that is every single manufacturer, whether you're getting a Motorola, Samsung, whether you get a Pixel, Google phone, or a OnePlus, or whatever it might be, they all use their own copy of Android where they set up bloatware on it, but that's beside the point. The fact is that these copies of Android have to be updated from the company that made the phone. So you have to trust the company that made the phone to put updates out for the phone, so that you're going to get security updates as well as driver and other functionality updates, or even updates to the OS itself, to the new version. This becomes a big, big, big problem because there is no standard OS for Android. There's a million different versions of it on different phones, and there is no standardization for it, really. You can't take a base OS of Android, for instance, and install it on just any phone. It won't work. You can't do that. There isn't available. Whereas it should be. That should be the way it is, because that's the way it's been for regular computers and PCs forever. But for some reason, when we went to these type of devices, all the manufacturers decided to lock them down and keep you really from being able to do a whole lot. You can load a different firmware on there. You can wipe the firmware out and load a different firmware if somebody makes a firmware, but that firmware has to be designed specifically for that device with all the hardware compatibility built in. If you load the wrong firmware, you can break the device, or you can make certain pieces of the hardware not work or function correctly, like the Wi-Fi or other things. This becomes a real big issue because you can't just change drivers. Drivers is another part of it. Like, if you could just load a base OS and install like APKs that were just driver packs to update drivers, and that wouldn't be an issue. That's the way normal OSs are made. The Android OS should be like that. Should be a base OS with a driver pack from the manufacturer. Dell makes a driver pack for PCs. When you get a Dell, you can then go to Dell and download the drivers and install them on the PC. There is not that capability on Android. This becomes a really, really big issue because it really eliminates us from being able to update things ourselves. We're reliant on the company we buy the device from. So think about that when you decide to buy your next phone. Really, really think about that. Let's talk about firmware. Firmware is a type of software code embedded directly into the hardware device, essentially acting as the operating system for that hardware, allowing it to function properly and communicate with other devices. It's often referred to as software for hardware, and typically installed during manufacturing, not by the user, unlike regular software applications. So it's not really a regular software application that just gets installed onto a device. It's embedded in the hardware by the manufacturer at the time of building the device. And as a matter of fact, the firmware is a OS made by the maker of the device, because they have to have the programming done to build in all of the support for the hardware. So whatever GPU and processor combination that's in that device, whatever Wi-Fi is in that device, all has to be in the OS that they embed into that phone. So this becomes, a very, very big issue. While not designed to be frequently modified, firmware can be updated by the manufacturer to fix bugs and new features. So you have to trust your manufacturer to update it. You can't update it. Firmware is present in devices like smartphones, computers, routers, printers, TVs, and even digital cameras. So let's go ahead and look. I don't have a problem with devices having firmware. PCs have had BIOS type firmware for a long, long time for the basic underlying setup of the device. But for the actual OS to be a firmware, I'm not a fan of that. Let's go ahead and look at this. No, you cannot directly update drivers on an Android phone in the same way you would on a computer, as the operating system handles most driver updates automatically through the system updates. Again, you are making yourself have to rely on somebody else to get your drivers. If there's an update, you're relying on the company to support your device. When the device becomes too old, they're not going to support it anymore. You want to know why? So they want you to buy a new phone. They don't want you to keep your phone for a long time. They rely on selling you new devices. This is the main reason that they're doing it this way. You can't load a different OS. I mean, not really. There's a few Android devices that can, but far in between. The majority of all Android devices are this way, and you get whatever comes with it, and that's it. You're not going to be able to put another OS on that device. Unfortunately. Let's talk about Android updates that originate from Google. So, do Android updates come from Android or from the manufacturer? So, updates originate from Google. Why aren't we getting the updates straight from Google? We're running the Android OS made by Google. Updates should come from them because they make the operating system, right? But that's not the way it works. The developer of Android's operating system originates the updates, but they're delivered to the users through their phone manufacturer. Why is somebody making the phone and not the software delivering us the updates? Why are they delivering us the updates and not the company that actually is making the software that we're relying on to use our device? Because they don't want you to update your phone. They don't want you to update your device. They want to sell you a new one, period. That's the bottom line. It's a pretty sad situation. Pretty sad. All things considered. I wanted to go over these little facts to let you know the truth behind phones. And Apple's the same way, but the Apple ecosystem is Apple only. Nobody else makes an Apple phone but Apple. But tons of companies make Android devices. The problem is they don't make a standard device that just installs Android. They make a device that has their Android on it and you can't do anything with it. You're stuck. So if you want to upgrade your device, good luck. You better hope that the company continues to update the device and that you get updates for your device from the company. I mean, Google may continue to support Android. That doesn't mean the company making your device is going to support that device. And that's the sad truth of the matter. And you can't wipe it out and put another piece of software on it that is supported. Not easily, anyway. And most devices, you can't at all. So, hopefully this was informational to you about how these devices are designed and the way they work. Because I know I'm going to get hate, oh yeah, but this device can load this and this device. There's other operating systems. Not really. Those other operating systems only install on a very small amount of Android devices, and it means you got to buy the right device. They don't install on everything. Graphene OS only installs on Pixels. You can't install Linux on every Android device. And you better have the right copy of Linux for the specific device you're installing it on, and you better hope whoever made that copy made it so that the hardware is supported and the drivers are in there correctly. because otherwise you could have a device that doesn't work quite correctly. And I've experienced that firsthand. I've seen people decide to wipe their phone and load whatever OS they want on it. Not a good experience a lot of times. Sometimes it can be, but it's usually not, because the support for apps also is not there. So I run an Android phone myself, and I'm going to tell you right now that it's the best option we still have. I'm not telling you, hey, here's a better solution. No. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I wish I had a solution to this particular issue, and I don't. I just don't like it. I just thought I should raise awareness so people understood what was happening in the tech world, in this particular aspect of the tech world. I'm only going to use Android like in my smart TVs and for a phone, and that's about it. I'm not really going to rely on Android to be a major player for tech-wise for me. I'm not going to be going and buying Android tablets or Android-based Chrome laptops or anything like that. I'm going to stick with the a better solution that gives me the opportunity to wipe it out and load a different operating system and load actual drivers into the machine to update things myself if I want to, and load a variety of other things. That's personal preference for me. And you can go ahead and leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about this whole situation. And let me know what solutions. Maybe I haven't thought of something. Maybe there's something you guys out there know that I don't know. Let me know what you think is a good solution to this, if there is one. And let me let me have a conversation about that. I'm more than willing to. And at the end of the day, that's what this is all about, is for all of us to learn, not just me to teach, but let's all of us talk about problems and try to come up with some solutions to fix things going on in the industry. I'll see you in the next video. This Mr. On Demand man with the master plan to come up with the best options he can. See you next time. Catch you later. Bye-bye for now.